Hey, my beloved brethren. I'm going to read you the story of David and Goliath. A famous story of David and Goliath, the King James Version, which is found in 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Succoth, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Succoth and Azekah, which is in Ephes-dammim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on the mountain on the other side. And there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 500 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. One bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried out to the armies of Israel, said to, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose for you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If you be able to fight with me and to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him, and kill him, then shall we be our servants, and serve us. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. And Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistines, that were dismayed and were greatly afraid. Now David was the son of Ephraite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. And he had 8 sons, and the man went up among men for an old man in the days of Saul. Now the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. The names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, the next unto him were Abinadab, and the third Shammah. And David was the youngest of the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep in Bethlehem. And the Philistines drew near morning and evening, presented himself 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brother an ephah of this parched corn, these 10 loaves, and run to the camp of thy brother. Carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take the pledge. Now Saul and they, and all the men of Israel, were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with the keeper, and took and went, and as Jesse commanded him. As he came to the trench, as the host was going forth to the fight, shouted for the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army. And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked to them, behold, there came up with a champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same word David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, for they were so afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have you seen this man that is come up surely to defy Israel as he come up? And it shall be, if the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the man that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth the Philistine? Take away the reproach from Israel. For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered after this matter, saying, So shall it be to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the man. Eliab's anger was kindled against David when he said, Why comest thou hither? And why thou hast left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thine heart. Thou come down that thou mightest see the battle. David saw and says, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spake after the same manner. And the people answered him after the former manner. When the words were heard which David spake, they were heard still before Saul. He sent for him. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine." And Saul said to David, "Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he is a man of war from his youth." David said unto Saul, "Thy servant kept his father's sheep. There came a lion and a bear, took a lamb out of the flock. And I went after him, and smote him, and delivered out of his mouth. And he rose against me, and I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing that he hath defied the armies of thy God." David said, "Moreover, the Lord hath delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver me out of the hand of the Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with thee." Saul armed David with his armor, and put a helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. David said unto Saul, "I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them." And David put them off. And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a script. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on, and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. And the Philistine said unto David, "Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, "Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, to the beasts of the field." And said David to the Philistine, "Thou comest to me with sword, spear, and a shield. I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will I deliver thee into mine hand. I will smite thee, take thine head from thee, and will give it the carcasses of the hosts of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." And it came to pass, when the Philistine rose and came, and drew nigh to meet David, and David hastened, and ran towards the armor to meet the Philistine. David put his hand in his bag, took that stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead. The stone sunk into his forehead, and fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling of the stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, and there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, took his sword, and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. When the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah rose, shouted, pursued the Philistine, until thou come to the valley, to the gate of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistine fell down by the way of Sheraim, even unto Gath, unto Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, brought it to Jerusalem, and put his armor in his tent. And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, "Abner, whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "That so liveth, O king, I cannot tell." The king said, "Inquire thou whose son the stripling is." David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, and Abner took him, brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son art thou, thou young man?" David answered, "I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite."